Hey, welcome to Roaming Minds. I'm Carlos.
I'm AJ, and here we talk about the thoughts that kept us out of all the really good schools. You know, those quiet spirals, the questions that keep you up at night, and the trials and tribulations that we all face as human beings.
This show is part reflection, part reminder. We're not broken, we're on a journey of growth. Please note that this conversation should not be taken as medical or professional advice. See the link in the description below if you require immediate help.
Every week, we unpack what it means to choose joy. Not the loud version that Karen is peddling, but the quiet, hard-earned kind that comes from finally feeling like yourself again.
Let's keep this conversation going. Join us on Discord or connect through a peer to Kindred. Let's get into it.
How quickly do we turn outcomes into identity?
I'm not sure about everybody else because I can't speak for others' experience, but personally, I do it all the time. Like, I have
Yeah,
tied
I mean,
outcomes of anything to whether good or bad to a personal, whether success or a failure of mine, or some attribute of a personality, character or flaw of mine.
personally, I do it fairly often. If something works, oh, this is me. This is a part of me. If it doesn't, I'm like, ooh, this can't be a part of me. I think to me, it's where the I can'ts come from. Oh, I can't do that. We were talking about music, and I was sitting there like, yes, I started making songs in the new year with the 3 days that we've had so far. And dude, that's huge for me. That's a really, really big deal because for so long, man, I can't. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't do that. I can't. It was ingrained within me, and we can call it failure from from a young age. We can call it whatever, but
I do
it
have a
just
question.
doesn't. Yeah.
So do you if you could do you consider a failure if you're like, I can't do this? Or you've
No.
tried it in the past and it didn't work, and then for you believe you can't do it.
Yes. What I'm saying is that failure at anything quickly becomes associated with identity
Wait,
through the can't. Does that make
perfect.
sense? Or
Yes,
can?
yes. I we are the same page. I think you maybe you did not say that part, or maybe my brain just kind of
Mhm.
skipped that part. Then I was like,
Yeah,
wait,
no, it's all good, dude. I may not have explained it perfectly, which is totally understandable. I think that's what makes it so personal. That's what makes failure so personal. Is the second that I don't achieve something, I'm like, oh well, and maybe not so much anymore. I don't. I genuinely don't think that's the case anymore. If I hit something difficult or something challenging, it's not a means of, oh man, I can't do this. This is silly. It's literally, oh, this is an interesting situation. How do I maintain this? How do I go about getting better? And it's really interesting because that does seem to be our default internal explanation is the second that I don't do something well, oh, well, I guess I just can't do it. I'm just not good at that. Kind of coming back to what we were talking about, I mentioned Wayne Dyer, I think it was last week or the week before, and not dying with the tapes inside of you. I should not be doing what I'm doing because based off the tapes that I had, they weren't, none of them are good. I never did anything difficult as a kid, not because I couldn't, just because I really just didn't want to. Let me rephrase that. I didn't want to put forth the effort into it in order to overcome the challenge, which led to me failing, which led to all of those I can't, this is crazy. And then it's really interesting because it's it's almost like a way of attempting to grab control over a situation that I didn't have control over to begin with. And so I guess what I mean by that is if I sit there and I say, well, it's my fault, I can't do this, then it gives me that illusion that I have some sort of control over it, because if I can't do it, I'm not going to go try. I'm not even going to make the effort because it doesn't matter. I can't.
But I have a
It
question.
makes it. No, go for it, please.
Firstly, do we need to fundamentally change how we think of failure? Because I think
Hmm.
within society,
Hmm.
though you try something, you don't succeed. Yes, it's a failure because you did not succeed at it. But should for like because the example that keeps coming into my mind is when you start walking.
Hmm.
You technically, before you take your first step, you try a few times, but nobody views that as a failure because everybody
Uh-huh.
knows, as
Uh-huh.
unless there's something neurologically wrong,
Uh-huh.
that you will walk at
Hmm.
some point. So they don't view you taking two steps and then falling
Yes.
and not walking right away,
Yeah.
not as a failure. They're just like he or she or they are getting there
Yeah.
rather
Right.
than failure.
I've rarely ever met a person that is like, "Ha, fuck that baby, he can't stand." Ha 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 ha. Like it just hey, I feel like you gotta be a little whacked out in order. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but whatever. Um, I think that's a really interesting point, and I think it makes sense when you think about predictive processing. Especially as kids, are the goal of the brain, well, one of them is to conserve energy through predictive processing. And so with a kid or with a young child, they don't have that opportunity because they have nothing to base it off of anyway. They're like, everybody else is doing this, I have to go do it. If there's one thing that we don't like, it's being singled out as the oddball.
That's
So,
very true. But like maybe that because now that I think maybe that's about it. Because at some point you will. I think it's just within human. It just what I think if it happened if you left the baby with no other humans around, that baby would walk. So it is. So
mhm,
so now I'm trying to reframe it. Is maybe is the thing. Maybe that is a bad example. Maybe I'm not too sure. Not that I'm rethinking about it because if you will do that thing and you will get there no matter what. Maybe that's why we don't maybe that's what's classified as a
I
failure.
don't I don't think that it's a bad example. Number 1, because you have to keep going. They've got to keep, even if you put them in a room by themselves and you never give them human contact and they make the effort to go ahead and walk, that's still they're still going to fail along the way, or fail.
Well,
So it's definitely far from a bad thing. I think that you can take anything that a child does while they're super young, again, before that predictive processing really formulates and takes hold. And we can look at that and we can say, wow, they just keep going. Even when it comes to those stupid toys that you put the circle in the shapes inside of everything,
yeah,
they're going to sit there and try and put that square in the circle a lot of times. And they are ultimately going to fail to get the circle or the square inside of the
into the
circle.
circle.
But that doesn't mean that they're not going to put the square inside of the square and the circle inside of the circle, and then all the end result is still the same. And so yes, I do think that you need a massive reframing of how we look at failure. I think the term failure just should go out the window, and same with I can't, because they're very permanent. When you say I can't, it's a very permanent way of thinking. And it's a very core belief of I can't do that.
Well,
Well, why
I
not?
I don't think that necessarily like I can because there are some I have some physical limitation that I can't do certain things, but I find so I physically can't, but I find a way to do it. So
So that's not I can't then. If you find a way to do it, that's not I can't. I can't means I can't, and I'm not even going to bother with it.
the way I think of like I can't mean like shouldn't maybe I should not be able to do this thing, but I find a way whether I do it well or bad, I'm doing it.
Which is the difference between success and failure. But if I can't gets in the way and it becomes a part of identity, how do we move beyond that?
I see what you mean. Yes.
Because if you're succeeding in a different way, then clearly you haven't failed. You just went and you did what we all do. You learned. You said, oh, this way may not be feasible. Let me go ahead or maybe it's too complicated. The trade-offs aren't worth it. There's a million different things that we process in that moment to decide whether or not to pursue that same course of action or to diverge a little bit to be able to get to the end result.
Hmm.
But when you sit there and you're like, well, I can't do this, it triggers something and you're just like, well, it just doesn't matter. Why am I going to bother? And I'm not saying that's for everybody, but I would say that that's a smaller subset of people that just are, I just kept going and kept doing. It's just a means of getting that control back, that predictive nature of it, because it's very hard, especially as you get older, to take contrary action that you don't know is going to work out. So there's a part of this unknown aspect of it. A baby doesn't know if they're going to stand and fall over because they don't have the cognitive processes yet. That's okay, but we do. And so when we stand and we fall over, we're like, oof, I better not do that again, because that utilizes more energy. It goes against how we are wired neurologically, which is a what? Our neurological what, Carlos? Please.
Processing? Sorry.
Sure, which is a part of a
Yeah, sure. What word do you want?
system.
Our systems.
System, right?
I want to say schema, but I guess a schema is a
Yeah,
system.
that I would take it. That's not entirely inaccurate. These are nothing more than system outcomes. Failures are system outcomes. And part of them exist here. The other part exists out here. Again, there are certain things that are just difficult. By design, that's not your fault. You didn't do anything to make them difficult. Quantum physics is fucking difficult.
To to some people it's easy. There's
Sure.
1% of the population that water.
Right. Makes sense. But just because that is difficult doesn't mean that I can't go ahead and learn those things. I may not be able to learn it in the way that somebody is teaching it to me. That's not a failure of them. That's not a failure of me. That's not a failure of anybody. It's just how we've designed said system.
I, I always give this example. I like with medical school. I say if you want to become a doctor, it's hard, but it's not impossible. I genuinely think 90% of the population could do it. But I mean, the system that which within it is, it's very hard. And
Mhm.
that's why the system is because from undergraduate, they literally have things called weed out classes where they basically tell you, "Hmm, maybe not. And again, not everybody can do it. So that's what the system is there for. And there are some people who it's easy for. There are some people it's a little complicated for. There are some people who just keep pushing through and then make it out to the other end.
I think that that's a really important distinction to make, is this lack of effort versus the system design. The system is designed the way that it is. There's only so much that you, I, or anybody else can do tomorrow to change an entire system. Now, I'm not telling you not to try to change the system, but those things require time and uh, actions
And
over time.
more people. One alone cannot change us like a system that's been there for
Mhm.
like at least a century or two going on now.
Right. If you think about the civil rights movement, without the however many people marched on Washington, the speech that Martin Luther gave would not have had the same impact. If it was just him standing up there giving this speech, you'd be like, oh, that's That's
That's
those are
what
some
a
nice
wonderful.
words, but like, who cares?
No, actually, no, that what nice would be like. What a wonderfully nutty man in the streets by himself.
Yeah, right. So we're not talking about changing those system level things because that requires a lot more. We're really talking about personal effort and working within the constraints of that system. Go for it.
No, I was gonna say, but then how do we right? I think the problem with failure is, well, the personal aspect of it. How do you reconcile with the person? Because there people are different. There are just some people who can take it and keep going, and there are some people who just the moment a feather touches them, they're just rumbling to pieces. And some people, you will have a house fall on them and they'll still be standing. So how do we
Yeah.
write those two people within the exact same system? Because you can't really, what's the word I'm looking for? Modularize or make it normalized system that it's going to work for everybody.
Right. Yeah. You can't make it one size fits all because that's not how things operate. That makes it more difficult. It makes it more difficult for people that don't operate within those confines. So, how the system design of things is not our area of focus today. While I would love to discuss that, a lot of the times it's just beating a dead horse because you and I we don't even have all the information at hand to be able to develop those systems. However, what we can do is change how we respond in those systems. And so what I think really needs to happen is we need to reframe failure with I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm
I think we
figuring it
talked
out.
about this in season one with the idea of like the growth mindset.
Yeah. But I would also venture out to say that the fastest way and most effective is you need to have a limitless mindset, not growth. Growth is great. I have no problem with growth. But you need to have that limitless mindset. You need to have a mindset of no matter what, I'm capable. I'm fully capable of doing this. I'm going to get there. And then it changes things because rather than number one, you're accepting responsibility. You are saying, I've got the agency over myself to be able to go and take these actions. I can go ahead and I can put in effort towards something that I think I should be doing and notice those repeated failures because it's not like you're just going to fail once. You don't, or let me rephrase that. You're not just going to learn once. You're going to learn multiple times because the first time you might not see it. The second time you might not see it. The third time you might see a piece of something, but you may not have the whole thing. The fourth and the fifth may actually end up getting you there. This is eerily similar to software development cycles with iteration and improvement. We constantly are iterating and refining and going back and working on these things. I do think, I don't know, I think it's really important that everybody learns concepts fundamental to computer science because they can be translated to absolutely everything so nicely. But that's a side tangent that we really don't need to go down. Repeated effort producing the same result is not your fault. It's not my fault. It's not anybody's fault. That's a system design. So if I'm constantly taking the same action, school was really easy for me. Okay. I barely went when I was in high school after ninth and 10th grade, and I did fairly well. I did next to nothing when in ninth and 10th grade, and I did better than most. School was easy. I didn't have to put forth a whole lot of effort. Learning the things that I wanted to learn in college and beyond grad school and things like that required me to put effort in. At my grad program, if we got anything less than an A, you were considered failing. So I didn't have a choice. The effort had to come no matter what. But again, that is a different level of a different means of approach inside of the same system that I can't do it. I'm just not good at school. That's literally what I told myself while I have like a 3.3 GPA doing nothing. Please believe I did not write a paper until I got to college. Not a single one. I don't even know how the fuck I managed that. I don't. But it's okay. But
It's
that's what I'm saying. You're in that constraint, that space, and they all have specific constraints.
yeah,
And
I think
so
the thing,
yeah, yeah.
because like the high school system is different from the college system. The high school system, you cannot do all you need to do to be successful. In college, you can do all you can do and still be that successful. So it is, those are two very different systems where you, I think the idea where we're trying to get is, hey, failure itself is neither inherently good or bad. It's just is a thing that happens. So you try something, you just it did not work out. That's neither good or bad. In some cases, it is bad if you try to save somebody's life and then you no. But semantics aside,
Yeah, they are nothing more than learning opportunities.
yeah, that's like,
Ultimately,
it's like things possess, and you're like, I'll give an example. I had a coworker, um, she said, what's it called? She was a doctor in Colombia. She had a kid come in with a stomach ache. At this point, she was just an intern. So they had sent the kid back. They had given the kid stomach medicine and pain medicine, and they had sent the kid back home. A few hours later, the kid and the dad came back, complaining of the same thing, and it's worse. It turns out the kid had testicular torsion, meaning one of the balls was twisted up, and then the kid ended up losing their balls. So now, whenever a man comes in and complaining of a stomach pain, the first thing she checks for is to see if you have testicular torsion, because she used that as, in that moment, she was, I feel this kid, we should have checked for this, but because how things was in the ER and just the thing, we did not think it could have been that until it was too late, and then unfortunately that happened. But now she makes the active effort. It's something that is part of her system now, that she, whenever she sees patients, well, specifically complaining of similar symptoms, that she would check to make sure that outcome does not happen again.
that's the important distinction. And that's why I say the reframe really needs to be switched to I didn't fail. I'm just learning. That's, all right. So I grew up watching Dragon Ball. That was the clear thing about that was I have to go train. I have to go train. I have to go train. And if I get my ass kicked, guess what? I'm just going to go train more and I'm going to go do it. This is Dragon Ball, things like One Piece. I'm going to use it. I don't give a shit. That's what it's one of the biggest things that they try to highlight. For that, it's super useful. But again, just paying attention to working within those constraints and taking not always, I don't, what am I trying to say? Just because we didn't succeed in one thing doesn't mean it's a personal affront on one of us or on any of us. It's just what happened. And sometimes that's okay. And sometimes we just have to say, okay, that's fine. It doesn't matter how bad we want it.
Yeah,
And I think that that's part of the other problem is when we think about predictable outcomes, a lot of things in our lives are very, very predictable. I know that if I order something on Amazon, it's going to be here within probably 24 hours or less most of the time. Unless it's the holidays, it might get a little bit
I'll
whatever.
say 48. Within
Around
2 days.
us, I'm going to tell you, around us, it's
Oh,
24.
you
We're
guys live.
pretty,
You guys live. Yeah, never mind. I forgot what. I just remember where you live.
that is very context dependent. At the beach, it's 48 hours. Where we are, it's 24, sometimes less. That's very predictable. And I order off of Amazon regularly or online shop, whatever. I order because I really don't go out. Why the fuck would I waste my time doing that? But we have a lot of predictable outcomes around us. And so when outcomes become unpredictable, it can be very, very hard to jump back into them. So it's not a matter of whether you are wrong, whether you are broken. This is the system within which we operate in. We have strong predictability everywhere else. I see it a lot in teaching. You know the most amazing question that I get most of the time?
Mm.
When is this due? Do we have a test this week?
Will this be on the test?
How many points is this worth? Because they're trying to eliminate predictability. And so what do? I just send them an email at the beginning of the week and say, hey, this is exactly what we're doing. This is what's going to be graded. You know how many times I get, is there a test this week now? Because we eliminated that unpredictability for them. And I don't know if that's right. I don't know if it's wrong. But that is the way that we are currently set up. Especially today's youth are looking for more and more predictability, which is very difficult when it comes to learning because you don't always know how it is going to pan out. I think that this is also an important reframe. Treating failure as signals. Again, this didn't work out, but I'm going to go ahead and try this over here. And I'm going to use those signals to be able to move beyond what it is that I'm looking for. That's okay. That's a great idea. I think that's a solid reframe.
Realigning your abilities
Mm-hmm.
and the goals. Because
Right.
maybe it is that you thought you can climb Mount Everest, but maybe you're like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't climb Mount. My abilities do not give me the ability to climb Mount Everest. Maybe I should just do Mount Kilimanjaro. So you're still getting to the top of a mountain, but you just reframed where you can get to be at.
Yeah. And it's also about how far you're willing to go into it. I'll give you this example. A lot of the kids that I teach are like, I want to be a billionaire. You're like, yeah, okay, sure. What are you willing to do for it? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, that's what I'm saying. What are you willing to sacrifice for it? And then they're like, well, I'm just gonna sell something online. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, how are you gonna manage that? How are you gonna handle that? I'm just giving you an example. I don't know
Look,
if that's actually what they say. Most of them actually go, I don't know. Most of them have no idea. They're like, I don't know. So most of them are going to try and sell something online, which is fine. You know how much you have to sell online to make it?
no,
The amount of sacrifices that just keep going. And so what's going to happen over time as you're taking these actions is you're going to refine where you actually want to get to. You're going to take those goals. You're going to have some sort of hope and some sort of belief that you're going to achieve them. Just sending it back to season 1. Let's go all the way back. And then you're going to start taking action. And then over time, you're guaranteed not going to hit some things because that's, again, you're working with other people's systems. So you don't know how they are. You don't know what they're doing. You're going to
that,
sit there and work through it and say, okay, well, I can do this and I can do this. And then you're going to find out that this next piece that you have to do in order to get to that next level is going to require, I don't know, an extra 15, 20 hours a week on your part. You're going to be like, fuck that shit. I don't want to do that. So you set the bar a little lower. You change it and you're like, well, I think I'm going to go do this. Okay, cool. I'll tell you who does a fantastic job at this, and you're going to hate me, so I'm going to bring it in again, is going to be One Piece. Each and every time he goes out and he is in a new arc, a new fight, it gets infinitely more difficult. And at no point in time does he shift that goalpost. Does he say, I don't really want to do this? He's like, I'm going to be the fucking king of the pirates. It doesn't matter that I just got my ass handed to me.
mhm.
I'm going to keep going and I'm going to figure out what comes next for me to get there. And that's kind of what we tend to do. We find those goals, we sit there and we say, yeah, let's go do them. And then slowly but surely, but then the problem becomes, it's not that we failed. It's just that we didn't want to do it. We didn't want to put forth that amount of effort. That's a big difference. And it's a very hard pill to swallow to say, I don't want that thing that I thought I wanted. That comes with a certain level of
Yeah.
maturity that not everybody carries. And especially when you're younger, I'm not I think as you get older, it gets easier of a pill to swallow. But when you're younger, you're just like, I don't want to admit that I was wrong. I don't want to admit that this wasn't what I was doing.
Oh, my dad said there are certain job or rich and all the there are certain things that you think are easy until you get in there. Then you have to make a choice because there are that you don't even if you try to be you have a path, but there are unintended consequences. There's human exploitation as a result of it. Are you willing to live with some of these actions and behavior that you may have to indulge in order to get where you are at? And some people are not, and that's good. Well, and there is some people are like, I love exploiting other humans and they're all for it. So you have to make, again, it is, you come to an impasse where you have to make a choice and be like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
really willing to live with these consequences or
Right.
not. And it's just a choice that ultimately you have to make. And some people are able to make that choice and and live with it. And some people are like, you know what, I'm not willing to do that. And that's
Mm-hmm.
also okay.
And that's spot on. The only problem, and when it becomes failure is when we take that personally and we sit there and we say, well, there must be something wrong with me. No, there's nothing wrong with you. You're mentioning exploiting children. That is a system fucking design flaw. If you get to a certain point in your life where you're like, well, I have to go exploit these people in order to make it here, that's a major system design flaw. That's not a you problem. You shouldn't be owning that at all. And I don't know. I don't even want to go down that road
Yeah.
because
Okay. Yeah.
that is a morality debate that
Yeah.
I just don't, well beyond the scope of us.
I was
We're
going to
not
say, well,
advocating.
yeah.
Right, yeah. Definitely not advocating for it, definitely not saying that's what we should do. Nothing. But it is a current reality.
No, yeah, it is a reality, and you have to like you're gonna be like I'm more and all these things. So like your morality may have to be slightly movable if you want to achieve certain things in life. That's just how life. Just that's
Right.
just the world we live in.
But again, that's not a personal failure. It's not. It's not a personal failure that you want to uphold morals instead of being immoral. There's
Oh,
nothing.
okay, yes.
That's what I mean. That's not a
I
personal
think we
failure.
meant it the other way around.
No, 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 no. You just have to. You have to be aware enough, much like we've been talking about over the past couple of weeks, right? To be able to say, this isn't what I want. This isn't me, and that's okay, right? Most of these things are all okay, but we have to acknowledge them. We have to accept them, and then we have to go for it. It's not about, oh snap, let me go run, 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 not succeed, and then be like, well, I guess I'm just useless. Oh, come on, man. Everybody, we all have something to offer this lifetime, and I don't care who that is. I fully believe that each and every single person on the planet actually has something to offer. It's just a matter of whether or not we can break free of a lot of the programming that we were taught as children. And I'm not blaming any generation. I don't think that I don't think that's right. I'm going to come back to, we have more information at our fingertips at this point in time than ever previously imagined. We can do things that other generations before us had absolutely no conception of. None.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but now it's on us to be able to sit there and say, okay, well, we can overcome these things because we have our capacity to be able to do so. And that's where that mind shifts from growth to limitless. We have that growth mindset of like, hey, let's just keep building, let's just keep doing, and that'll be all right. To that limitless mindset of, hey, we have a lot of opportunities at our disposal. Let's go and make something of them and do what we know we can do. Not knocking growth mindset, not, but I really I'm all about the limitless mindset. Even if you can't do it, even if you're completely useless, yeah, I can do that. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Go try. You're going to find out if you want to. I'm going to tell you, I probably will not go skydiving ever in any point in time in my life, but that doesn't mean I can't do it. It's just because I have no desire to jump out of a fucking plane. No. That's just me. So, but whatever. We've gotten, I don't know if we've gotten off the path. We've been on it
No,
the
it's
whole
on the path.
time.
Just
Yeah, we just kind of took a right-hand turn, a third
it's
45 degree angle.
it's like the sidewalk. You know how like you have the sidewalk and then you have like that little space
Yeah,
between
yeah,
that the
yeah.
sidewalk and the road. I think we're on
Right.
the sidewalk and then we just like step
Uh-huh.
like maybe we wanted to jaywalk, but we ended
Mm-hmm.
up we're like nah, I ain't going jaywalk. And then we went back right on the sidewalk.
Right. I think we've kind of talked about this. Failure's always because we either learn that we want it, we learn that we might need to put some more effort in, we learn that we might need to try a different approach. We learn something if we're aware enough and ready to receive that information. And so this is where all of the previous episodes kind of come in, is having that awareness to be able to say, okay, let's go ahead and let's figure this out.
Yeah. We've all heard of this sort of people who go things send them to that easily. They'll choose like a career, they'll go to the grad school, and then they'll get the job and they're like, oh, I don't think I like this. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
this is something I've ever wanted to do. Just because it just came to them naturally, and that's not a bad thing. Some people things come to them naturally, and they are in love with that bad thing that they're
Mm-hmm.
doing. And some people things just the system that which within they want to work it just comes with an ease, well at least to the outside word, a degree of ease. Maybe they're doing a lot of active work behind the scene
Mm-hmm.
that we don't that
Right.
they get there and then they're like, oh, maybe this isn't what I actually wanted because they haven't encountered a degree of failure or a degree of setback that
Mm-hmm.
really made them rethink, oh, is that something that I want?
Mm-hmm.
And then they continue with it. Because if you ever had a setback, you go, is this something that I want? And then you continue with it. It makes you fall in love. You're like, yes, 100%. If you, yeah, okay, yeah, just I'm just doing this, then you can change what it is that you want to do.
Yeah. We'll put some reflection prompts in here because I think it is important to, yes, okay, we've provided a reframe for how to think about failure moving forward, but we have not provided the reframe for your past experiences. I've talked about my past experiences a little bit, and you've talked about yours or your experiences and how that kind of relates. But to somebody just out there, well, how do you go about changing those reframes? And so we have some reflection prompts that we'll put down in the description, and I think that that is going to be
I think we should also make the decision. Also study the reason for the failure. So
Mhm.
I'll give you an example. Like you wanted to take a test. So did you fail the test because you did not study? And had you studied, you'd have done well. So then that's not because you don't want to be like, oh, I failed, so then for I should immediate abandon or try to change my mindset. Study what it is that led to the thing being wrong.
Well, so and again, I'm going to come back to this idea of eliminate the term failure from your vocabulary. I forget who that quote is attributed to, but what would you do tomorrow if you knew you couldn't fail? Because I'm going to tell you, you can't. It's impossible. You can't actually fail if you are taking action towards what you want to do and are I I understand that that sounds cliche. I'm going to tell you, everything that you need to know about life, you learned in fucking kindergarten. Everything. Everything else is secondary. Treat others with kindness and respect. Don't give up. Keep going. All those stupid little fucking slogans that they have around elementary school that you look at those posters and you're like, God damn, those things haven't changed in 30, 40 years. Don't you think maybe you should get some fucking new ones? Who knows? Maybe not. Those lessons were the most important, and most of us don't get them. We don't. And I'm not, whatever, we can call that a failure system. Makes no difference. Eliminate that word failure from your vocabulary. Treat everything as a learning experience. It doesn't matter what it is. If you approach absolutely everything, and I mean everything, even the worst thing that you could possibly imagine, I don't know, everyone's dealing with a different degree of shit than I am, or that Carlos, it makes no difference. Everything that happens, treat it as an opportunity to learn. That immediately shifts your brain away from, ooh, I failed and I didn't make it work. It's oh, it's okay. We're all learning, each and every single one of us. We're all just learning how to be better. We're learning how to navigate these crazy new systems that we have been encountering. We need to give ourselves a fucking break. And failure just should not be in anyone's
Yeah.
vocabulary, because you're not a failure. I'm not a failure. I've definitely failed at many, many things, but that does not make me a failure. It just means that I'm still learning. It just means that I'm still figuring it all out. And as long as remain willing, I'll get there.
Yeah.
Maybe slower than others, maybe faster than some others. Doesn't make any bit of a difference. But believing that, again, so coming back, believing that I can achieve it, having that desire to do something better, that hope that things are going to go, and having clear goals, bam, dude. You do those things, you will get there. Fuck the failure, fuck all the rest of it. Just go, and I don't want to say be okay, but understand that this is how we learn. This is how we grow. This is how we become something that we never thought possible. I yeah, I do like and I guess here's where I want to end it, because I think that was almost endable,
Yeah.
but we're missing one piece. A lot of the signals that we get when we're going through all of these things, nobody taught us that they were signals. They taught us that we were failures. Why? Because we paid attention to everybody else around us. That's okay. That's normal. I whatever, not a big deal. We are giving you the means of how to read those signals. I, what signal it is going to be entirely different for you than it is for me, than it is for Carlos. I'll tell you today, whenever I hit a roadblock, it's okay. What am I not understanding fully about this situation? How can I gain a better picture so that I can use what I have to get to where I want? That it doesn't diminish my effort level. It doesn't diminish my responsibility. I'm taking responsibility, having that agency. I'm aware enough to be able to say, what is it that I didn't do this time that I need to rethink for the next approach? This is where I think like those wartime examples are really important, right? If I'm laying
Hmm.
siege to a castle and I try one technique and it doesn't work, I'm not just going to sit there and be like, oh, well, let's keep wasting people on it. There's no way. We're going to try and figure out a way. We're going to try and find a weak point. We're going to try and sift into that weak point. And again, maybe that's too much, but what I want to clarify there is this is the way to keep moving forward, because we learn. Again, obviously nobody's laying siege to fucking castles these days because that's a very dated reference. But I may be, I don't know, trying to get into fucking the university. I may be trying to get into grad school. I may be trying to get a job. Okay, I've tried X, Y, and Z. This isn't working. Let me rethink how to go about and make these things
Yeah.
happen. It is not a failure on your part. It was just the systems with which you are in trying to give you a signal in terms of go this way or go this way, but that we just don't think about reading them that way.
No. Failure is part of innovation. That's how you get better.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Carlos and I greatly appreciate it. Comment something that resonated with you today. We are here for support, feedback, or anything else that you want to share. Join us on the Kindred app, a perfect space to keep unpacking what came up during the episode. Get live, peer-to-peer support from people with shared experiences. Kindred is built for those moments that no one else sees.
Take this one step deeper by reviewing today's reflection prompt in the show notes. Please don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and tune in next week for a new episode. Until next time, choose joy.